The third Pan-African Capacity Development Forum, CDF3, in Harare, Zimbabwe, held by the African Capacity Building Foundation, ACBF, to coincide with the Silver Jubilee of the foundation, started with vigorous debates centered around the theme, Developing Capacity for Africa's Economic and Social Transformation. With Agenda 2063 very much in focus, the key message highlighted during the forum was the continent's need for capacity building. Currently, the African continent faces quite a number of challenges, among them being youth unemployment, poverty, low industrialization, declining commodity prices, and poor infrastructure development. According to the Executive Secretary of the African Capacity Building Foundation, ACBF, Professor Emmanuel Inadozie, the issue is the lack of capacity on the African continent. To achieve economic, political, and social transformation, we need critical skills and a change of mindsets, said Professor Emmanuel Inadozie. He stressed the need to develop skills such as more engineers, more agronomists, and more managers. He stated that currently over 80% of students are enrolling in social sciences and humanities, and there needs to be a conscious effort to stem this trend and direct more students towards the STEM disciplines, science, technology, engineering, and maths. Inadozie stressed how the skills gap was not only relevant to the private sector, but that institutional capacity needed to be reinforced.
You need some skills that are technical in nature that are going to be needed. You need engineers, you need technicians, you need managers, you need entrepreneurs, you need all kinds of people who will drive this agenda. And we began to see the extent to which this is happening. And our shop, we looked at engineers, for example, and we said if Africa wants to achieve the first 10-year plan that it has, it has a gap of 4.3 million engineers, which is a very critical skill for transformation and for implementing some of the flagship projects. And to us, this is a very serious problem. If you look at that, you're not even producing as many as 1 million engineers a year in the whole of the continent. And then also, if you look at the fact that 80 to 90% of undergraduates who are enrolling in universities are enrolling in social sciences, in arts, and in law and humanities. So it's a big issue for us. So that's an example of what the critical skills and where the gap is. And so we cannot just simply say to achieve this, to create this number of engineers that you need so quickly, but more importantly to retain them, train them at the right quality, to retain them and employ them, use them, and also make sure that you have some harmonization. And so this will require effort that is not business as usual. We've got to intensify and change the ratio of what is happening in our universities and institutions of higher learning, where, I'm sorry to say, a lot of them are not educating African youth to solve Africa's problem. So our goal is that universities and institutes of higher learning must educate African young people for them to be able to solve Africa's problem.
Among the speakers present, it was agreed that capacity issues remained the missing link in achieving development agendas in Africa, and that a strategic and coordinated approach was needed. In a keynote address, Dr. Anthony Marupin, Commissioner for Economic Affairs at the African Union, touched on how the AU had been working with the ACBF in assessing the capacity requirements for implementing Agenda 2063. Through Agenda 2063, Africa has a clear and articulate roadmap for change. We are counting on ACBF to make this agenda a reality. The focus should be on building capacity that builds further capacity to make it sustainable, he said.
Whatever capacity has been built should be retained. Better still, as much as possible, focus should be on building capacity that builds further capacity in order to avoid erosion after building some and to ensure sustainability.
Permanent Secretary in Zimbabwe's Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, Mr. Willard Manungu, co-host of the CDF, commended the ACBF for the work it had done across Africa in the past 25 years, testifying that Zimbabwe was a key beneficiary of the ACBF's work. This gathering of diverse minds offers ample opportunity for us as a continent to introspect different ways and means of strengthening capacity development for the advancement of our continent, he said.
As government of Zimbabwe, we are delighted to have you all in Harare, in Zimbabwe. So we welcome each and every one of you that is coming from the ACBF member states. I would also want to welcome all those that are coming from the non-governmental organizations, the various foundations, private companies, civil society, among others. And I invite each and every one of you to share with us the experiences that you have had. May I, on behalf of the government of Zimbabwe, acknowledge and appreciate the concerted efforts that each and every one of you has made, especially those that have had to brave long distances and creating time in your busy schedules to participate at this important event.
During Day 2 of its third African Capacity Development Forum, the African Capacity Building Foundation officially celebrated its 25th establishment. Amongst the stakeholders present, notably members of the ACBF Board of Governors, who are African Ministers of Finance, Planning or Economic Development, development partners, members of the ACBF Executive Board, implementing partners, civil society organizations, private sector organizations, academia, the media from Africa and beyond. There was a general consensus that the work of the foundation, which was critical yesterday, remains even more critical and more relevant today in implementing the transformative agenda of the African continent as articulated in the African Union's Agenda 2063 and the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda. Delegates at the forum were reminded that the sustainability of African institutions is mainly dependent upon African leadership and ownership, and they strongly advocated for an appropriate level of funding of these African institutions through the effective mobilization of domestic resources that will provide incentives for external support.
2, 1, 0. 25. Golden anniversary.
In his address during the official opening, Dr. Ronald Seligman of the World Bank said that at 21, a person reaches adulthood, and at 25, they officially leave their abode, a signal that the ACBF would have to explore new ways of mobilizing resources in the future. The World Bank has been the single largest funding partner of the foundation over the past 25 years. Though continued support of the World Bank is expected, albeit through different modalities, in order to avoid a reversal of the capacity gains made on the continent since the establishment of ACBF, participants appeal to African member states and other development partners to step up their support to ACBF.
And economies that are more resilient to external and even internal shocks. A number of African countries are already busy transforming their economies, having domesticated Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals with either technical support or on their own. And domestication involves assimilation or infusion of the relevant content of Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals into the national strategic and action plans.
Throughout the celebration, the delegates acknowledged that the great support that ACBF has received from the government of Zimbabwe. On behalf of the government of Zimbabwe, the Vice President, His Excellency Filikezela Mpoku, expressed deep appreciation for ACBF support to Zimbabwe, saying ACBF supported the creation of the Zimbabwe Economic Policy Analysis and Research Unit. This think tank has been instrumental in providing strategic studies that contributed to policy formulation in order to address various development challenges we are facing. He also noted the Harare-based Women's University in Africa is another success story of ACBF in Zimbabwe and urged his African counterparts to continue building capacities, but more importantly, support countries and institutions in order to avoid the brain drain by retaining, harmonizing, and utilizing capacity built on the continent.
It is a great pleasure to be present at this occasion where we are celebrating the African Capacity Building Foundation's Silver Jubilee. I have known the African Capacity Building Foundation as the organization which exclusively pays attention to capacity for our continent to be able to rise and shine. 25 years ago, wherever one looked in Africa, the state of capacity had been very alarming. While admitting that a lot still needs to be done, the picture is quite different today, with most African countries supported with capacity building, thanks to the institutions such as the ACBF.
The Vice President was joined by representatives of ACBF's founding partners, the World Bank, the African Development Bank, and the United Nations Development Programme, who reminded their audience of the role they played in the establishment of ACBF and the support they give to the foundation throughout its 25 years of operation. A commemorative book highlighting the impact of the foundation's work over the last quarter was launched. The African Capacity Building Foundation Executive Secretary urged the remaining 15 African nations to become member states in order to transform good strategies into implementation.
They wound up from the turn of the century not having plans. They had strategies for reducing poverty, but I've always argued that the strategy to reduce poverty is not a development strategy. It is just for you to reduce poverty.
We also caught up with a few Ghanaians benefiting from the ACBF who spoke about the impact of ACBF on the African continent and also their take on the 25th anniversary celebrations of the ACBF.
We are very pleased and honored to have just won the ACBF, that is the African Capacity Building Foundation's 2016 Innovative Capacity Building Award. And these awards are simply to honor those whose work seeks to build the capacity in new and transformative ways in Africa. So on behalf of the CREA Board of Trustees and the Executive Director, I was honored to receive the award for CREA. Our award recognizes the project that we will be doing, which is bringing West African integration home for national development. And the innovative element of our project is that, in principle, most interventions dealing with regional integration have been top-down, and ours will be bottom-up, seeking to build the capacity of non-state stakeholders in Ghana so that producers and others can take advantage of the regional market whilst still contributing to the national development of the country.
The University of Ghana has benefited a lot. Since the beginning, ACBF has contributed or funded the program to a tune of about $9 million. And currently we have students from all these 4 English-speaking countries, and they are being trained in economic policy management. We take students from the public institutions. We train mid-level managers so that the capacity that is built in them, they can contribute in developing their economies. So far, we have a lot of alumni who are in top positions. In Ghana, we have alumni who are in the Parliament House, Member of Parliament. In Liberia, we have those who are deputy ministers. In the Bank of Ghana, we have a lot of students who have been trained by the Economic Policy Management Program, and the institution, University of Ghana, headed by the Vice Chancellor. We are grateful to the African Capacity Building Foundation and the World Bank, and we hope that more direction will be given so that the program will continue.
The program has been running for 11 years now, since 2006, and ACBF has been our main sponsor financially. So the program is a master's program that trains middle to senior level public servants across Anglophone West Africa. So we have students from Ghana, from Liberia, from Nigeria, from Sierra Leone, and from the Gambia. And ACBF has been supporting to build the capacity of these public servants over the years. The main objective is to build their capacity to be able to meet challenges current challenges and future challenges of the public sector. Most of our graduates, when they go back home, are able to make an impact. Most of them are in senior positions. They go back and have received promotions. So in Sierra Leone, for instance, the head of civil service is a graduate from the first cohort, Dr. Suru. We also have the head for Gambia Postal Services and the Gambia Transport Service Authority being a graduate of the PSMTP. In Ghana, we have graduates from the immigration, the health sector, the Public Procurement Authority. For Liberia, we have the Liberia Institute of Public Administration, LIPA. In Nigeria, we have ASCON, the Administrative Staff College of Nigeria. In the Gambia, we have the MDI, which is the Management Development Institute. And ACBF has been very instrumental in building the capacity of GIMPA and our partner institutions to run training programs. And apart from the training of our participants from the public sector, senior to middle to senior level participants in the public sector. So on this occasion, I would like to say thank you to ACBF for supporting us over the years and to congratulate them on their 25th anniversary.
Over the last 18 years, the Department of Economics has trained over 800 graduates, coming mainly from Anglophone West Africa, that is Ghana, Nigeria, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia. We've had students coming from various parts of the public service, including the ministries of finance, trade, the central bank, etc. There's no doubt that this program has contributed immensely to the economic development efforts of the countries of Anglophone West Africa.
I joined the African Capacity Building Foundation in 2010. I've been with the organization for a little over 6 years. I am the monitoring evaluation expert. My role is at 3 levels. At the strategic level, helping the foundation to focus its strategies in terms of what the needs are, putting that in a results fashion. And also my role includes helping projects to implement and demonstrate the achievement of their results. And I'm also responsible for leading some of the strategic evaluations that the institution does, the strategy, thematic evaluations, and also training our partners and also leading engagement with other international organizations relating to results-oriented activities. My views about this anniversary is that it's extremely important as Africa strives to achieve its transformative agenda. Capacity is inevitable if we want to achieve the intent of the next millennium. I believe that it provides a platform and an opportunity for an idea sharing and idea sourcing in terms of how best we can do things differently, keeping in mind the strategic intent of the continent. ACBF is an important institution that supports capacity building, and I believe that it needs all players to come on board to ensure that the foundation continues and sustains its engagement across the continent. Capacity is important.
What we can say about the program from the perspective of the students is that it has really helped them to improve their performance, service delivery, and on the personal level, many of these didn't just graduate, but have also been promoted in their organizations. For example, in Gambia, the head of the telecom sector, and then the head of the post office, the head of the transport sector, all of them are graduates of the program. In Sierra Leone, Dr. Sorrell is the head of civil service. So on the whole, we saw that the program has had a very good impact on the participants. What we asked ACBF to do is continue supporting our program as the second phase ends this December. We hope that the third phase will be supported by ACBF. But more importantly, we also hope that ACBF is able to continue doing the good work it's doing, able to get more sponsorship from its donors and partners.
final day of the Capacity Development Forum closed in Harare, Zimbabwe, with a call for a greater commitment and closer collaboration amongst partners and member states. In her keynote address, Dr. Hesfina Rukato, former Deputy CEO of the New Partnership for African Development, NEPAD, implored African governments to adopt a more integrated approach to socio-economic development and transformational change, saying, "We must overcome the silo mentality that limits scale," adding, "We need to capitalize on existing synergies, on developing a sense of urgency in delivering continental capacity building initiatives," she said. "What's missing for me is agenda now. Where is the agenda for today?"
And oh yes, we have developed a very strong anti-corruption frameworks. I like that. Really? So we agree that we're corrupt. Can you imagine how many children we send to school if we stop being corrupt? Then we will not spend so much money building our capacity to fight our own corruption and then praising ourselves for stopping it.
During the closing of the forum, Executive Secretary of the African Capacity Building Foundation, Professor Emmanuel Inadozie, reiterated the importance of the continental institution and the role it plays as the fourth major development institution in Africa, alongside the African Union, the Economic Commission for Africa, and the African Development Bank. The ACBF has a clear comparative advantage, he said, be it our experience, our understanding of realities on the ground, and of course our expertise in how to build capacity. We have aligned our interventions with national and continental priorities and developed programs to deal with the most urgent capacity gaps, not only development of skills, but retaining, harmonizing, and utilizing those skills, he said.
I would like to reiterate my sincere appreciation to the government of Zimbabwe through your Honorable Minister, not just for the generosity and support towards this event, but for hosting ACBF in Harare since its inception in 1991. Zimbabwe's political and financial support has remained unwavering throughout. Honorable Ministers, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, the past 3 days have really unearthed very key capacity development issues, but attending to meeting the aspirations of the people of Africa, as espoused in the Agenda 2063 and the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. I would like to thank you all for your contributions and recommendations, which are key to the continent's development progress, and particularly the key role of capacity development institutions on the continent. And this has been very aptly captured in the communique that has just been read by Mr. Joseph Maputas, Executive Board Member of ACBF. Just to recap some of the key issues that came out of our deliberations, the discussions during the Capacity Development Forum and anniversary celebrations have clearly stressed the need for renewed, improved, and sustained commitment to capacity building in Africa, as well as identification of the capacities required for Africa's socio-economic transformation. Further, a strong and elaborate message was made on the need to develop synergies through effective coordination of capacity building efforts in Africa and sharing experiences and best practices, realizing that lack of investment in capacity development will inhibit the continent's attainment of its vision, Agenda 2063, and the Sustainable Development Goals. More importantly, the call made by governments here present, the private sector, civil society organizations, and all other key actors for ACBF to spearhead a capacity development platform that will coordinate capacity building on the continent at all levels and across different disciplines and stakeholders is an opportunity for us to continue building capacities as we transform Africa's economies.
ACBF will be holding a pledging conference in Abidjan at the end of June, hosted by the government of Côte d'Ivoire, where it will launch its next 5-year plan. Last year, 2015, was a record year in terms of African government contributions. It is important to keep honoring one's engagements, according to Inadozie, as contributions can help leverage more funding to help achieve a skills revolution.